Hi, thank you so much for joining. My name is Samantha. I'm a BCBA and RD here at CAIO. Thank you so much for joining. CAIO is a new name, but same company, same team. We're formerly Gateway Learning Group. We've been facilitating ABA therapy for the last 15 and a half years, and we're a company pretty big, 500 or more of us, and we're actually operating in 6 states now. So the services that we provide obviously are ABA therapy in home and center via telehealth. We're also providing school district support. We do parent training, parent consultations. We do behavior consultations with school districts. And then we're also looking at providing community or school support for all of our families. Just a quick look where we're at. Like I said, we're in 6 different states right now throughout most of Northern and Southern California. And then we're popping up in Oregon, Washington, Utah, Arizona, Colorado, Texas, and more to come up on the East Coast and in the Midwest. So just real quick, taking a look at our philosophy at CAIO. So the curriculum, we definitely prioritize child-centric and evidence-based treatments. So we focus on understanding what is the child's motivation and interests. And we use that to actually drive the programming and the structure of learning that we provide. So we want to make sure that what we're actually working on and doing is going to be meaningful and significant for everyone, but most importantly for the child. And then a key piece of any successful program is the collaboration and involvement of those that the child is around. So that can mean the parents, grandparents, siblings, cousins, peers, teachers, paraprofessionals, whomever that child is around. We want to be in collaboration with them, and we want them to be involved in this child's programming, because we want to make sure at the end of the day, the child is learning how to use the skills that we are focusing on with the people that matter most for them. So educators are on the front lines, and they play a huge role, and they're often the first ones to actually recognize a delay in development. So some examples, the child might be pointing or grunting instead of using words to get their needs met, or maybe they're showing a lack of interest in others, or are having a hard time with sharing things with their friends. Obviously, each organization may have their own policies, each district has their own policies, but as an overarching theme, some different options of what you can do as educators once you start seeing some of these delays is obviously you can talk to the families, share your concerns with them. You can refer them to local pediatricians. You can refer them to the regional center to get some lineup of different services, or you can also refer them to a non-public agency such as CAIO for a free consultation. I'm not sure of other agencies, but CAIO, we definitely offer free consultations for any families, any teachers that have any questions about behaviors that they're seeing. So why are we here? So we're all here today to really explore those practical behavioral tactics that can be used in the classroom. But often, families need some quick and easy suggestions of things that they can do with their children while they're waiting for services to get up and running, or maybe there's a lapse in services for some reason. So hopefully this webinar will provide you with some helpful information, not just for yourself in your classroom, but also to share with the families. So what are we going to be reviewing? So just some quick objectives for today's webinar. So we're going to be looking at both proactive and reactive strategies that can help with preventing the behavior or decreasing the likelihood of that behavior occurring again. And then also looking at those strategies of what we can do when we're actually seeing the behavior that's occurring. So proactive strategies, always saying best way to address behaviors is to prevent them. So there's a lot of different strategies. We're going to go through them, but you can see on here, it's just a key list. But the biggest thing about proactive strategies, some of these on here might be familiar, some might not be, But the biggest thing is that it's how we modify the environment or the task or the way that we are approaching the activity or the instruction with the student, or with the goal of making it more meaningful for them, but also making it more likely that they're actually going to be supported and successful in completing that activity and understanding exactly what's going on. And they've got that support from beginning to end of whatever activity or instruction that we're trying to have them follow. So first one that we're going to look at is environmental modifications. So this one's looking at how can we modify the environment to set up the child or children in classrooms for success. So just an example of a behavior that we're wanting to work on might be increasing compliance with instructions. So some different things that we can do. We might want to look at reducing the noise level. Sometimes you can get carpeting on the floor, or you can put carpet on a portion of the floor, or tennis balls or carpet pieces at the ends of the legs of chairs, so there's not so much screeching on the floors. You might also want to look at maybe having some relaxing music playing, or changing the way that the furniture is laid out, maybe using window coverings or coverings to reduce the effects of noise, light, or visual distractions within the classroom. You can also take a look at organizing the classroom in a certain way. So there's specific areas, or having preferred items removed. Preferred items, they're distractions. So maybe they go to an assigned area that's only accessible at recess or at free time or when they've earned a break. So really just trying to look, how can we minimize distractions? If it's noise, if it's other people who are in the room, if it's maybe visual distractions that are up, or even just trying to look at organizationally, how can we set it up so that there's less distractions in there? This definitely works for all ages. I know me, myself, as an adult, I like a nice, clear environment to work in with minimal distractions. And so that means no iPad, no TV. I just have me, myself, and my laptop, maybe a cup of coffee. But really, environmental modifications can work for anyone. And it definitely works best to minimize behaviors that occur when the distractions are present. So token reinforcement systems, token economies, I'm sure you've heard this being said in many different ways, but this is definitely a really strong and powerful proactive strategy that can be used in classrooms. So token economies can be effective for shaping behavior. They involve the delivery of tokens, right, upon the presence of a desirable behavior or a behavior that we're wanting to see. So the student over time, if it's a period of 15 minutes, a period of an hour, a period of a day, they're going to be earning these tokens that they can then exchange for a reward once they've completed that board. So big thing about token systems, you're going to want to make sure that whatever they're working towards, whatever they're earning, it's individualized for that student's preferences, preferred items, preferred activities, preferred people, whatever it is that they're motivated by, that's what we're going to want to use. I'll go into later some examples of what token economies can look like, but I've even tailored them so much to be preferences for TV shows, and we have a themed token economy to make it even more reinforcing for them. So you can use these token economies. They can be placed on the student's desk. If the student works in more than one location during the day, it can be removable. It can be fastened to the desk by a piece of Velcro, maybe. All adults working in the classroom where this is present should be trained on how to use it and how often the tokens should be delivered and what are they getting delivered for, so that it's consistent across all individuals and there's no competing contingencies between different teachers or different students. And again, we want to make sure token for the behavior that we want to see, they acquire it over time. You can ask them, hey, what do you want to earn today? Or what do you want to earn in this class? You can gather a list of things that they might enjoy or enjoy doing and use those to exchange once they've earned the token economies or tokens, sorry. So just some key steps. How do you operate? How do you use a token economy? So the biggest thing is that we want them to be successful. So first of all, you want to define what exactly is it that you're going to be delivering these tokens for. Is it for raising their hand instead of shouting out in the classroom? Is it for walking in between classroom transitions versus running? You want to make that very clear so everyone is on the same page, both yourself as the educator and the child. You want to determine how often. Is it going to be every time they raise their hands instead of shouting? Is it going to be every 5th time? Is it going to be in between or after every transition, or only in between the ones that are typically more challenging for them? So you want to figure that piece out. Then you're going to want to figure out what exactly are they going to earn, are they going to trade in, and then explain those contingencies to the child and how it's going to work. Okay, first we have to earn 5 stars and then we can go for free time. Or first we're going to earn 5 fairy tokens for raising your hand when you're asking a question. And then at recess, you get to play with your favorite activities, something like that. So here are just some examples. Token economies can take on a lot of different forms and can be in the form of a point system. You could do raffle tickets, sticker charts, marble jars. There's all kinds of ways to use token economies. There's also digital token economies now. I think one's called Class Jojo, where it's using token economies and point systems, but on a group contingency as well as individual reinforcement systems. So that's pretty cool. So they can range from very simple short-lived systems, more complex ones over weeks, days, times. Dojo is definitely more of the complex one, but that one's also pretty neat because the parents can log in and see how their child is doing. So these are just some similar examples. And then we're looking at who can use token economies. Like I said, it can work for a young adult, young clients, young children, older children. I know I use one for myself for working out every day. I earn a sticker. So it can be adaptable for any behavior, any situation, any setting. The biggest thing is we want to make sure the child can understand why the tokens are being given, like what are they earning the tokens for, and then that they understand or can participate in the action of trading those tokens in for something that they're actually going to be earning. And like it says on here, definitely want to use it for behaviors that occur at a low rate, because we don't want to be handing out tokens every 30 seconds, every minute, if that's not within our capacity. But then also just the primary reinforcement, they can't have free access to recess or free access to their free time in class every 5 minutes if they've earned the tokens that quickly. So Premack principle, otherwise known as Grandma's Law. So the basic concept of Grandma's Law is that we use something that is motivating to the child to encourage them to do something that is non-preferred or even less preferred. So simply stated, we use first then statements such as, first you do your homework and then we can play games, or first we do math and then you can go to your free play corner. So it's pretty simple, it's just focusing in on what do you want them to do and what can we use to motivate them. Very typical one, first you eat your carrots and then you can get dessert. So that's kind of where it's coming from. So here are just some quick examples of how we can use the Premack principle or Grandma's Law, and also an example of a visual prompt, which we call a first then board, that you can use as a visual cue or a visual support where needed or appropriate for the student. Now, first then boards really works well for children of all ages, like I said, because it can be presented in written format, it can be presented visually, it can be presented verbally, it can be presented as house rules. First you do your chores and then you get your allowance at the end of the day or end of the week. So it's definitely best to use this though for tasks that have a very clear beginning and end. And it also works well for students that are shuffling or struggling, sorry, to complete a particular activity. So they know or can see what comes next or what is on the other side of this activity. Okay, next up is visual schedules. So we all learn differently, but there has been a lot of research that has shown that students with autism and similar disabilities actually learn best through seeing. And I think that can be said for a lot of people, including myself. But visual schedules specifically can help learners to complete activities more independently, to learn quicker, be prepared for those upcoming transitions. And as a result, we can actually see that students who are using visual schedules are showing decreased rates of frustration, anxiety, aggression, if it's self-injurious or towards others, and self-stimulatory behaviors, because they found that having an awareness of what is coming next or what to anticipate, what to expect during the day or during the hour can actually bring a sense of calm and relief to the student. So like I said, those are just a couple of the benefits, but there are others, in terms of promoting independence. They can see the schedule. They know what comes next in terms of next step. You can use visual schedules within the classroom to help transition in between different activities. I'm going to show you some examples. We also use visual schedules maybe for some self-help tasks like washing hands in the bathroom. So you're going to get the water and then go through each step. There's a little picture or there's a written out instruction of what to do. So here are a few different examples of visual schedules. Of course, they are not by any means the sum of the formats that are available or effective, just some examples. So here we have physical objects in the schedule to assist with interactive quality of the schedule, maybe for a younger learner. And then here are some more developed examples for self-help tasks, like I was talking about. So brushing teeth, taking a shower, and then also the morning and evening routines. And here is another one where we're referencing certain times of the day that are paired with different visual icons of the activities that are going to be completed. So you can mix and match the activities to different times, or if you're using it for, I know a lot of people were using it time-based schedules like this when distance learning first took effect last year. This time, this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing coloring. And then at this time, we're going to take a break, or at this time, we're going to be working on some reading. So it's pretty adaptable. And then here are some less formal but equally effective examples of written schedules that may be more effective for older students or even adults. I know I thrive on written schedules and to-do lists that look a lot like this. And then here's an example of another schedule that actually involves giving the child choices of what to do for certain activities. So resource-wise, visual schedules are relatively easy to make. You can conduct a simple Google search and probably find some images for one that you're wanting to create. Teachers Pay Teachers is another wonderful resource for examples or actual materials that can be downloaded or sent out to you for use in your classrooms or in your homes. And then again, just in summary, some key takeaways. So visual schedules, they do allow for less intrusive prompts. The students become less dependent on the educators, the teachers, the parents to actually go between tasks or to complete tasks independently. And then, like I said, they're extremely beneficial for those that struggle with transition, so they can see what's coming next and then what's after that one. And they're really good for students with limited receptive communication skills, or maybe they just need some visual support so they can understand what's coming next, but having a visual is always helpful. And again, just welcome to everyone who's here. Again, if you have any questions, I am monitoring the chat box. So if you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to reach out. Okay. Visual cues. So the great thing about visual cues is that they are everywhere and they are embedded in every part of our society, that the use of them can be easily generalized outside of school. So how do visual cues, how can they be used? This is not showing the piece I wanted to show, but basically visual cues can be used across all settings, and they provide the students with information about behavior, expectations, classroom rules, what's coming up next, how to complete the task or activity, how to interact with others, how to go between tasks, or how to make choices about what they want to do. So here are just a few. So they can use across sittings, they can provide individuals. So here you go. I figured it out. I figured out PowerPoint. Okay. So then here's just some other examples. Visual cues can involve the use of pictures, symbols, photographs, and or written language as supports for instructions or for expectations. So here are just a couple of examples that can be used in the classroom. We've got an icon for quiet, for being quiet, or how much time is left in the activity. Specifically within a classroom, visual cues are calendars, printed signs or materials, directional arrows for where to place assignments or place books here, safety signs, do not enter signs, that sort of thing, pictures or names of the children on their respective tables so that they know where to sit. There really is no limit when it comes to visual cues and how they can be used. And again, Google searches, Teachers Pay Teachers, those are kind of my top two resources for creating visual cues. You can also make them really specific to your classroom, to your students, by taking pictures of the actual objects that the students are going to be using for the activities, for the assignments, and placing them for use for those students. So ideal candidates, again, really it can be used for anyone, for anything, but it's definitely best for environments where maybe verbal language is limited or not always accessible. So in the classroom, as a teacher, as an educator, you can't be with every student at every time. And so using visual cues acts as a prompt and helps give them instruction of what to do with pieces of paper, books, crayons, markers, whatever they have to put away, where to sit down. You can use visual cues at home. I know for my child specifically, I use it to demonstrate the level of loudness that they're using versus where we want them to be. And it, like I said, it's always less intrusive method of prompting with requiring less verbal prompts. Okay, high ratio of praise. This is probably my favorite part. Using praise, specific praise is one of the most consistently effective things that we can do as educators, as teachers, as parents to improve student behavior. So letting them know that what they're doing good at and recognizing their effort. So oftentimes it's easy to follow the saying, I know I'm guilty of it, letting the sleeping dog lie. But really, if we switch our thought process around, and if we aren't praising them when they are doing good, where is the motivation for them to keep doing it? So in order to ensure that the child's behaviors that we're wanting to see receive the praise and attention that those behaviors deserve, usually it's recommended like a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 praise to instruction ratio. So you want to try to find at least one behavior that the student is engaging in that you like prior to delivering an instruction. So you might say something like, hey, awesome job keeping a quiet voice today, or you're doing such a great job waiting, or look at you, I love that you're talking with your friends, that's great. Yes, and that high ratio of praise really keeps everything positive, fun, interesting for the students, keeps them motivated, so that they're not only are their interactions with you fun, then it makes them more motivated to actually comply because you're bringing all this fun praise to them all day long. Everyone likes hearing what they're doing good. So, in terms of what works well or best for everyone, it can work for everyone, but it can work for children with delays. neurotypical children, and even coworkers, or mentees, supervisees that you're working with, everyone loves hearing praise. And then it can be used across a wide variety of environments, home, school, community, anywhere. And really the length of praise statements should be varied based on the child's ability to understand or comprehend language, the expressive and receptive pieces. So you can be more extensive and more specific the older the child is, and the more that they can understand receptively what is being spoken to them. Vicarious praise, another great strategy. So what is that? What is vicarious praise? So children are very observant. We know that. But seeing their peer or sibling be praised by something or for something is often enough of a motivator for them to engage in that same behavior to get that same praise. So it's very simple, very effective. Children who enjoy social attention and praise, and if they're familiar with or friends with the other child, even better. Just for some steps to consider, you're going to want to make sure that the person giving the praise has a history of reinforcement with that target child. So it's a teacher that they know, it's their parent, it's a paraprofessional, someone that they interact with. So they want to get the praise from that particular person. That's what's driving them. That's what's motivating for them. And then you're going to want to make sure that the target child can both see and hear when the child is being praised for the behavior, because we do want to make sure that what we're doing is having an impact and then it's being observed so that that child will engage in those desired behaviors. So choices. Let's talk about that. So a wide collection of research has proven the effectiveness of choice. So, and that's for any behavior, if it's improving compliance, decreasing maladaptive behaviors, increasing communication, increasing group participation, giving choices is a key piece. So, and it's really shown that giving a child a say, or a student a say in what they're doing, or the order in which they have to do it, how they do it, when they do it, can be impactful on getting their cooperation and motivation. So let's kind of take a little dive. So it does create independence and can most often involve non-essential things such as, what clothes they wear that day, or do you want to brush your teeth first, or do you want to get dressed first? But in the classroom, you want to give the students, a limited number of options because there's a lot of other students involved, but try to be as flexible as possible. So just some things to consider, who is the person going to be working with? Is that a particular para, give them a choice. Okay, you get to choose 1 to 2 or request 1 to 2 of your friends. And then you as the teacher can take those requests into consideration because obviously students might cause disruptions if they only work with their buddies. So definitely want to offer the option, but use your best judgment with that. You might also take a look at what content they're working on. They get to choose the topic that they're presenting on. They get to choose if they're doing an math first or reading first. They get to choose which reading article they're going to be doing or which book to read. When are they going to do it? Like I said, what order are they going to be doing things? For maybe high school students, or taking a look at having flexibility with how much time they get. When is it due? Is it due on this day? They get more points versus this day. Giving them different options of when they're making their presentation. So having them sign up for the times versus us as educators assigning those. Where will they work? For our younger kiddos, is it going to be at their desk, or maybe they go to the library component of the classroom? Do they get to sit on a comfortable chair? Do they sit on a hard chair? For some of the older kids, are they going to be doing this online? Can they sit at their desks? Can they go under their desks? Just trying to give them some different options of where they complete this activity. And then how, what formats. So are they using crayons versus pens? Are they using paper versus cardboard? Are they using PowerPoint versus some other format? So Mary, great question. What do we do with students who are not doing anything, even if you have given them choices? So we'll go a little bit into kind of why behavior occurs, and hopefully we can get a little bit more into that. I definitely will come back. So choices, it can be used, like I said, wide variety of environments. It works with all ages, number of choices, and the form of choices which they are given should be dependent upon the student's age and developmental levels, and then also the setting. If they're in a large class, small group, individual project, those choices are going to be impacted. So next is behavior contracts. So behavior contracts really let the student know that there is a very specific relationship between the behavior that they engage in and the consequences that come from that. So they're usually set up with older children that can understand the concept of delayed reinforcement. And usually this is written and multiple people involved: parents, teachers, principals, paras, and it should always be in full display for the participants to reference, refer to, talk about during the day. So if it means it's on the student's desk, in the student's binder, it's online on their online profile, or if it's something that they carry around on a piece of paper. But here's just a really simple example of a sample behavior contract. So for a student named Mark, the specific behavior was getting ready for school, and it details what getting ready for school should look like, for how many days it has to be done in order to earn the reinforcement, which in this case is an overnight stay with his friend Jimmy involving pizza and ice cream. So Mary, this might be something to consider if you're giving choices and it's not working. Maybe you could set up a behavior contract with them, or some unofficial contract, or using different dojo apps, reinforcement systems to really try to motivate them. Like, hey, what is it you guys are interested in? Are you interested in a movie day? Are you interested in a free half hour at the end of class? Are you interested? I know for my daughter, one of her teachers does cell phone day. So they get to come to class, last half hour, they get to go on their cell phones and have their free time on there. And that usually operates as a group contingency to get compliance. That behavior contract, you can set this up with one student, with multiple students. Hey, this is what I'm looking for. This is how often or what it needs to look like. And then this is what I will do as the teacher, as the educator, as the parent, if you're able to kind of meet these terms for me. And then behavior momentum. So it's a behavior strategy, and it's basically making requests that are easy for the child before making requests that are more challenging or more difficult. So by following a pattern of like easy, easy, hard, easy, easy, hard will increase the child's motivation to engage, because you're building in so many more opportunities for success, right? We all get on this, oh, I'm doing really good. This is awesome. That's a good inner experience to have. It's good for our self-esteem. So we use this to try to get some compliance with those more challenging tasks. So an example, you want your student to comply with a multiple step direction, something that involves multiple things that they have to do. First, give them 2 easy instructions that they know how to do, they do it consistently, and then give them the instruction that requires multiple steps, so that they're building up that self-confidence, like, okay, I can do this. Let me try something harder. It's the same concept, for ourselves. We are like, okay, I can run a mile easy. Let me run this mile. And then the next day, okay, I'm going to go for another mile. All right, I really want to push myself. I can do a mile. Let me go for 2 miles today. So it's the same concept that we're looking at here. So here's just another example for some early learner who's maybe having a difficult time with basic compliance for following instructions, but they can label objects, they can identify body parts. So those are going to be a couple of the instructions that we're going to use. Those easy, 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 hard is the pattern that we're following here. So we have 3 easy instructions that they're able to get. They get access to reinforcement, and then we go with the more difficult one. And then we're going to see the actuality of them completing that challenging task because they've had so much momentum and success with the easier ones. Mary, you're welcome. No problem. So behavior momentum can be used children that have frequent non-compliance or resistance to particular instructions or activities, and that can be across all age ranges. And it can become overwhelming for the child if it's used just continuously and all the time. We definitely don't want it to be an automatic, we're going to use behavior momentum for everything. Really try to keep it for the very difficult tasks, because it can be very quick to fall into this routine of easy, easy, hard all day long, which can be tiresome for everyone. So reactive strategies. So this is what I was talking about earlier. Behavior always, always, always comes down to one of these 4 functions of behavior. So there's different acronyms to use. One that I've used is SEAT. So sensory, so it's for either internal or external. Sensory, we brush our hair because it feels good. We put lotion on our face because it helps our skin feel nice. For some kids, you might see flapping hands because they're enjoying the wave or the visual. For clipping of pens, that's a sensory. We're doing it because we like the sound or we're liking the tactile input that we're getting. So that's S. E is for escape, to get out of something that they do not want to do. If it's a non-preferred activity, non-preferred class, non-preferred adult at times, non-preferred, uncomfortable situation. And then A is for attention. So because they want to get attention from someone, if it's from a peer, from a teacher, from a parent, and it can be positive attention and negative attention. If the behavior has been around enough and they have only been receiving negative attention for it, and that's the only attention that they get during that particular class, during the day, ever, they're going to quickly realize, okay, I want attention. This is how I go about doing it. And then T, tactile. So getting access, or tangible, sorry, getting access to something that they want. So it can be a person, it can be going somewhere, it can be something edible, it can be a particular activity. So those are the 4 reasons that any behavior happens. So just some basic reactive strategies. If you know it's to get something, you're definitely going to want to not give that item or activity to them when they're engaging in that behavior, and redirect them to either use their words appropriately, use communication, or if just that item's not available, say, sorry, it's not available right now. Let's get to this, and then you can have it. If it's for escape, you want to represent the demand, withhold the reinforcement being the thing that they're looking for until that child actually completes the instruction. If it's for attention, ignore the behavior. Ignore just means you do not give attention to the individual when they're engaging in that behavior. You can still give attention to the child, just not to that behavior. You're not going to verbally recognize it. You're not say, hey, sit down, or don't stand up. You're not going to engage in eye contact. You keep a very neutral face. And when they are engaging in the behaviors that we want them to engage in, that's when we give them attention. But you're ignoring the behavior, not the person. And then sensory, you want to provide minimal attention because there could be a component if it's access to tangible or attention sometimes, but redirect them to something that's maybe a little bit more socially appropriate. So if somebody is getting pretty fidgety in their seat, maybe you want to put a cushion under their seat so they can balance, or maybe consult with an occupational therapist. They can provide different chairs that have different textures and feelings that maybe the child might like, that will help stabilize them a little bit. If the child is flapping their hands, maybe give them a fan, an automatic fan where they can use that, and teaching them kind of time and place where certain behaviors are okay to engage in as much as you want on a time and place situation. So you might have heard about extinction. Sounds daunting, can be confused with ignoring behavior, ignoring the child. But the thing is, when you figure out why is this child engaging in this behavior, is it to sensory, escape something, to get attention, to get access to something, we're going to be removing that access to what they want until they're no longer engaging in the behavior. but we're also pairing this always with a skill acquisition. So we're going to be ignoring this behavior. You're no longer going to be getting a break if you are engaging in this problem behavior, but you can get a break if you ask for one, or you can get a break if you're just doing anything other than engaging in this problem behavior that we don't want to see. So I'll go into exactly what that reinforcement piece is, but these are just a couple of examples. When we say extinction, it just means whatever was motivating that child to engage in that behavior, it no longer gets them that. It no longer gets them the preferred item. It no longer gets them the attention from other people. It no longer gets them escape or getting a break or getting out of doing the homework. Instead, let's teach you. I know you want to get out of it. I know you want to get access to something. I know you want my attention. Let me show you how to get that in a way easier way, in a way that's more appropriate for the classroom setting. So that's when we come into differential reinforcement. So the appropriate behavior, we're providing reinforcement for that. So it can be either appropriate, can be defined as not behaving in the inappropriate behavior, so the one that we're wanting to decrease, or when they're choosing a positive response, meaning the behavior that we do want to see. They're engaging in communication. They're sitting down instead of jumping up in the middle of class. They're maybe they're just being quiet instead of shouting. Even if we're trying to work on raising the hands, but hey, you're not shouting, I'm going to give you a token just for being quiet while the teacher talked. That's what differential reinforcement is. So go into just a few other things. I know we've only got a couple of minutes, but I can definitely add in my email address into the chat box. So if you have any questions that we weren't able to get to, you can feel free to email me. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. But DRL, like I said, it's rewarding the child when the inappropriate behavior or that problem behavior is not present. Either they are just not doing anything, they could be doing anything else, For example, a child, maybe they're hitting other kids. Differential reinforcement, either they are using their words to get something that they wanted from the child that previously they were hitting for, or they're just playing nicely. Either one of those is not hitting. So I am so excited about that. Great job. Okay, that was a lot. Does anybody have any questions about different proactive strategies, reactive strategies? We'll definitely go ahead and see if I can share out this PowerPoint to those that attended. But if anyone has any questions or any particular situations that have come up, I can definitely answer those questions for you. Otherwise, you can always schedule a behavior consultation. If you go to kiocare.com/consultations, you can get a 30-minute consult with a BCBA. You can also give us a call on this number it's also listed on our website if you have any questions. And like